And for me, it reminds me of how short life is and how much we need to embrace life and live, not just get up every day and do the same old, same old. We need
Hmm.
to live. We need to actually live. Go out and try things, do things, enjoy life. Go and walk on the beach and just look at the sunset or the sunrise, that kind of stuff, which a lot of us don't do because we're always chasing that dollar figure. We are always chasing something else, but we don't get time to live. And that is what drove this particular mantra for me to embrace this mantra.
Yeah, yeah. On podcasts and all these formats, people love to say, "Oh, I agree with you totally." But in this case, it's true. I agree with you totally.
Well, you wouldn't have had a choice, did you? Would you?
No, no, but I really do because I mean, it definitely resonated with me. And this is, if you look at Deon Cecile's professional resume, you'd probably not know at first sight where exactly to place her. And then, if you add her personal dabbles to that, you'd begin to wonder, become curious even, as to how or why she does so many things. Well, she openly admits that she gets bored easily, and the last few years have taught her that she can do just about anything she wants to do if she has a mindset and attitude adjustment. According to Dion, she is a multifaceted person. Simple. Dion is a business management specialist with 20 plus years of experience in improving business processes that result in greater efficiencies, reduced cost, and reduced deviations. Specializing in policy and procedure development and related training, administration and operations, cash management and relationship management, with a diverse industry history in education services, gaming and entertainment, financial services, telecommunications, hospitality, and retail foods. She's also an experienced proofreader and editor who's enthusiastic about expressing herself through writing, which she does on her website. In the last 3 years, Diana has built her online presence through her website and on social media, mostly Instagram, where she spends time sharing her life experiences and the things that bring her joy. Through starting her website and writing on her blog, she has been featured on Television Jamaica's Smile Jamaica Morning Time program in 2020, and her articles have been featured in the Beyond Women magazine. She's also written articles that have been featured in her department's online publication called The Corner. She believes strongly in paying it forward and gives back of her time and resources through various options, one of which is her being a mentor for budding entrepreneurs who enter the Vincent Hassang Venture Competition on an annual basis. She's been involved in that for the past 3 years. Dion spends her downtime reading, gardening, cooking, and spending time with family and friends. Lately, she says that she's been consuming a lot more music and trying to get visits with nature into the mix more often. Nowadays, she embraces the mantra that says, "We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are," from Oprah Winfrey. And living is more than just existing, as Maya Angelou said. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. There we have it, a proper introduction. So then, without further ado, our guest for today, joining us from lovely sunny Jamaica, Deon Cecile. Dion, it is fantastic that you have decided to join us today. And I hope you're feeling well. What's the weather like in Jamaica today?
Quite sunny as usual.
Yeah?
No rains today, and luckily where I am, it's rather cool and not swelteringly hot like it normally is. So
Yeah.
that's in my favor today.
Okay. That is great. That is great. Well, but you don't seem to be, boiling hot or anything. You're looking quite cool and collected. Yes.
That's what
Yes.
show and music to do.
Confident and ready for the little interview today. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You want to what part of Jamaica are you right now? I
I'm
tell you.
currently in Portmore, St. Catherine.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Portmore. Yes, yes, yes. I do have memories of Portmore. As some fond memories as well.
Really?
Yeah, of course, of course. Had lots
Okay.
of friends there. During studies, I would, visit Portmore for different reasons. You know, um, yeah, I made up reasons to go to Portmore, and
Really? Usually people avoid
yes, of course.
Portmore.
No,
And you
man, I
made up
used to.
reasons to come to Portmore.
Of
Okay.
course, I mean, yeah, man. I used to come to this place with some friends of mine. Maybe even know the guy David Thomas, yeah, and
Oh.
David
Mm-hmm.
Tupper, and
Mm-hmm.
Sean and Sheldon
Oh,
Reed.
wow. Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course, of course, of course. We would go and we would buy steam fish on the beach somewhere.
Hmm. Well, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
reason to come to Portmore, actually.
Yes, man.
The
Of
fish is
course. We get our
always
steam
good.
fish. Yes, yes, yes. I remember. I remember. Very fond memories. I mean, I can close my eyes and see it right now and remember how wonderful it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
You
man.
should,
Yeah, man.
when COVID settles and you can travel again freely, you should
Mm-hmm.
consider coming back
Yeah.
for a visit.
Of course, consider it. So, it's always on my mind. It's just, I mean, over the past few years, I think before COVID, there was a little thing with, what was it, chikungunya? Yes. And
And what was the other one?
Zika. Was it
Zika.
Zika?
Right.
And these two, well, they weren't pandemics really, but they were, well, let's say events that would have prevented me from coming back. So,
Okay.
it was just unfortunate. And then came COVID, and, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so it's always on my mind, man. Always, always. Well, a little about where I am today. I'm in Berlin, and it's cold and windy today.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. No rain or snow, but I don't know exactly how cold it is, but I think it's probably about 2 degrees or something like that. You know,
That's interestingly
which
cold.
is which is fine. It's not Celsius, by the way. 2 degrees Celsius, and yeah, I mean, after a while you get used to it. It's not so bad actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's fine.
it's
I
only
should
bad
have
when it
been
gets to
there in
minus.
2019, 2018, 2019, but
Yeah.
plans got cancelled. Yeah.
Yeah, well, these things happen. It's actually 6 degrees. It's not that bad, but it's windy, so you feel it to the bones.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming, Dion. I know it's not exactly, I think you expressed to me at some point that this is not exactly something that you're so fond of. So I'll take it as a note, a gesture of flattery on your part to take the leap. Yeah.
I think when you re-engaged me at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, okay, I'm tired of saying no to this, so might as well I just say yes to it and get it done. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and who knows, it's not really getting it done probably, but maybe it's a new beginning. Who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows? All
Exactly.
right. Well, the topic for today is clear, and I've already introduced it to the listeners. I mean, this is a funny thing with a podcast is that it's not like we're talking to a whole group of people. We're not saying talking to everybody. A podcast is I have to imagine that I'm talking to one person. In addition to you, of course, in front of me. It's a very intimate format that it's not like one. It's really one to many, but you have to imagine that you're talking to one person. So
Right.
that is a little challenging sometimes. And our topic already introduced, very engaging indeed. But I want to start at the bottom somehow. I'm very interested in the things that inspire you. And you sent me something very, very, very engaging. And I mean, I've thought a lot of things, but I'm going to invite you to kind of open this up a little bit for me. You said, nowadays you're embracing the mantra. Yeah. We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are. And this is borrowed from Oprah Winfrey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's definitely a good source. You also used another source from another woman um, for whom I have a lot of respect. I've liked her work. And this woman is Maya Angelou. And she said, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive. And to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style."
Right.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me a little about that. Why did you choose these sayings or mantras?
Well, the first one, which was from Oprah, we can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are. That actually came from one of my plants. It was inspired by an action of a plant of mine. I went outside one morning and saw the entire pot wide open, and all I saw was roots. It was
Mm-hmm.
bursting from the seams. It needed to find a new home, so to speak, and it was stifling inside of the pot that it was in. And I decided to write an article about that. And in writing that article, I came across this quote because I use quotes and sayings from music whenever I write. And it really resonated with me because in life, a lot of times when you want to try new things, you want to venture into something else, you have some form of belief that you can't do it, you don't know enough to do it, and it holds you back in a lot of respects. But the only way you're going to know whether or not you can do it, whether or not you will succeed at it, or whether even if you fail at it, and but you would have gotten the experience, is to try it. And to try means that you have to, for me especially, come out of my comfort zone. Like today,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of my comfort zone to try something else to see what other dimension this can add to me, the person, and to the things that I'm doing right
Mm-hmm.
now. The other one, I think, came out of the whole party that we've all been in for the last 2 years. I call it a party because I really don't want to think of it as anything else. But um, COVID has done so much to so many of us in so many ways. There have been losses on personal and professional fronts for a lot of persons. And I have suffered a lot of losses throughout this season. And for me, it reminds me of how short life is and how much we need to embrace life and live, not just get up every day and do the same old, same old. We need
Mm-hmm.
to live. We need to actually live, go out and try things, do things, enjoy life, go and walk on the beach and just look at the sunset or the sunrise, that kind of stuff, which a lot of us don't do because we're always chasing that dollar figure. We are always chasing something else, but we don't get time to live. And that is what drove this particular mantra for me to embrace this mantra.
Yeah, yeah. On podcasts and all these formats, people love to say, "Oh, I agree with you totally." But, in this case, it's true. I agree with you totally.
Well, you wouldn't have had a choice, did you? Would you?
No, no, but I really do because, it definitely resonated with me. And this is. You are now listening to the English Coach Podcast, where I attempt to add a splash of color and life to your learning experience by inviting you to live the language. The show is self sponsored and independent and offers you immersion into the language in a fun and interesting way. The English Coach Podcast takes my usual relaxed, accessible, human approach to your learning experience and, by definition, celebrates the virtues of diversity and inclusion. Real people, real themes, and personalities from wherever you are. Now, this is not a formal lesson, it's a show. But if you are interested in signing up for lessons, group coaching, in supporting the show generally, or simply in getting involved, do it direct. And feel free to head on over to www.trainingtree.de/podcast or englishcoachpodcast.com. Like it if you like it, and if you don't, lie to me. Just kidding. Anyway, share the show with a friend, or if you like it a lot, keep it all to yourself and simply sign up to join my private listeners group. As an independent podcaster, it's important to me personally to at least try to protect the integrity of my own content and to resist as much as I can being co opted into anyone else's ads driven paradigm together with all the stealthy violations of your privacy and mine. Signing up directly means that absolutely no third party app download is necessary. If you so choose, you get to receive all the episodes sent to you by email directly from me, private and ad free, the way it was meant to be. So then, without further ado, on with the show. No, but I really do because I mean it definitely resonated with me, and this is well part of your your introduction,
Mhm.
and it's nice that you put it in because I'm also of the belief that I always say the same: wisdom comes again in different forms all the time. It doesn't mean that we steal or take people's words, as if they belong to anyone, but it
Right,
means that the same good stuff keeps coming back, and that in itself is a sign. Um, I personally think, in terms of this remaining who we are, this assuming different roles, maybe different personalities, wearing different hats depending on where we are. It's part of life and something that makes us also human. This whole adaptability to circumstances. We even speak of, let's say, um, the action logic that informed a certain decision that might be different of another day, yes,
right.
that might cause you to make the decision differently. It
True.
doesn't mean that you are a different person, it's just that the circumstances might be different. So it's
Right.
this kind of adaptation. So embracing or adopting different roles is a kind of dance that we have to just do in
On a
life.
daily basis.
Of
On a
course,
daily basis.
Of course, of
Mhm.
course, of course. And even, sometimes people like to say as well, that is not me. And, I accept it. That's okay, fine, that's not you. And I think to myself, okay, that's not you today.
Yes, I was using that phrase before. This is not me, Being being
Yeah.
being in this environment is not me. So I'm guilty of saying the same thing. So yes.
Yes, but it's true. There are many truths, and I mean, yeah. I mean, who am I to judge? I mean, as I say, the circumstances do change, and we adapt accordingly.
True.
Adapt accordingly, and that's just life. But I think that's a good start. Now, thank you for that, Dion. I think that's a wonderful opening. However, is our topic for today is finding yourself, and the self has many faces.
Hmm.
Can have many faces. They don't have to be too different from each other, but it's finding yourself, and also a little extra, finding yourself through repeated losses and curiosity. The finding yourself part is, it resonated with me at first. However, you added the extra here through repeated losses and curiosity, which also resonates with me as a trainer of adults. I have to help people to also embrace this idea. So the first question that I had for you today, I want to offer you this wonderful stage. Yes, to just tell us nicely how, well, as phrased, the question says the theme for the day is finding yourself through repeated losses and curiosity. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Well, let's start by saying that finding oneself means different things to different persons, and it may look different to different persons at any given time. Um, Sometimes you go through life not knowing what you're capable of doing, not what your strengths are, what your passions are, what feeds your soul, what you're interested in, and then something happens. You're faced with a situation or a challenge or something that is sad or challenging, depending on what it is, and you end up, or sometimes it's not a challenging situation per se or a sad situation, but you end up with a lot of time on your hands, and that allows you to spend a lot of quality time with yourself. And in doing so, you start to have thoughts and feelings about, what your goals are, what your dreams are, and who are you as a person. And are you at a level that speaks to who you are, what you want to be, or who you want to be? For me, going through things like that, you may have something happens and you get an idea or something. I would call it that your light bulb starts to blink and you realize that your interest is piqued by one or more multiple things, and you start to realize that there's more to you, there's more to life, and irrespective of all the things that you're going through, there's more to what you need to be involved in, more of who you need to become. And for me, that's pretty much what finding yourself is about. And yes, the added part of losses and curiosity is a different dynamic to it, but it helps to drive you finding yourself.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And these challenges that happen. I mean, this is, a little bit personal, I would say, but
Mhm.
have there been any challenges in particular that have inspired you or driven you towards some kind of new self exploration recently?
All right, let me see how recent I can be. But over the years, there
Mm-hmm.
have been a lot of things that have fueled my curiosity, a lot of things that have driven my finding myself. I'll start as far back as probably 2001 when I lost my husband at the time. That was for me a very sad situation, but it also made me curious about life and starting life over in a new city where possibly I could make new friends, I could explore new options for work or for education, whatever it was, which is what I did actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fast forward to a few years later, I lost my dad. And
Um,
in coming out of that, I'm going to term it, I became curious about affairs of the heart because he had a heart condition, and that is what
mm,
eventually he died from. And I became curious about that. I started reading more about heart issues and heart disease, and I started taking better care of myself. Still not 100% there yet in the taking care of myself part. We
mhm.
all drop off the bandwagon every now and then, but yeah, it that fueled my curiosity to learn more. Um, Again, a loss of a 13 and a half year job. Um,
Ah,
when that came to an end, that fueled a different level of everything. It
mm,
was like a whole 360-degree turn for me. I was actually home for 11 months and 14 days. Yes, I counted it down to the very end.
okay.
And that fueled my curiosity in so many ways. I started to write. I learned about the creative side of me.
Mm-hmm.
It started to drive my wanting to live a little, to
Mm-hmm.
explore new things and stuff like that. And then, as most recent, was the loss of my mom and my godson within 2 months of each other. No, that is one of the things I think that would made me gravitate to Maya Angelou's mantra that I have that we spoke to before, where I just don't merely want to survive. I want to thrive. I want to live, and I want to do so with some compassion, some passion, and some human style, because I realize that life is short, and we take a lot of things for granted. Um, and we don't spend enough quality time with self, with family, and with friends that means something to us. And then when it comes down to situations like this, you just start to reflect and say, but well, if I did this before, if I did that before, I would have had more memories, I would have had more things to look back on, things like that. And I don't want that to become who I am, or my having to reflect on what if. I want to say, oh yes, I did this and this is how I felt then, and things like that. So for me,
Yeah.
losses have really fueled my curiosity in a lot of ways and have propelled me to do things differently.
Yeah. Well, Dion, I honestly do sympathize from the bottom of my heart. I don't know to what extent you're in a place for like taking sympathy. Sometimes we get to a stage where we don't want to dwell, but
Hmm.
that's quite a lot. Starting with a husband, a father, mother, and a godson. You said
Hmm. Right.
that's quite a lot. And I mean. I mean, I'll knock on wood, pray to the gods of wood. That I've, I have had a few losses in life. Yeah, mostly having to do with relationships or disappointments, having to do with work,
All right.
profession or so on. Again, knock on wood. But what I can definitely relate to is a sense of new doors opening. Of course, there's just different stages of grief you go through.
All
And
right.
again, I can't speak with so much authority on these stages of grief. However,
Mm-hmm.
I may have had sicknesses in the family and so on, some
Mm-hmm.
difficulties, quite a few actually. But
Right.
sometimes, you go through the stage and then there's a stage where, you really perceive new doors opening,
Right.
especially at the end of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is of course a stage where you feel really bad. This is it's not rejection, it's denial, and then there is the anger and even a little bit of hate sometimes, even though we don't say that word. But and then new doors start opening, and you enter these doors as a new person, or you emerge on the other side as a new person, stronger, better,
Oh,
better
yes.
equipped somehow, you know. So, well, you've definitely spoken to the repeated losses. Thank you for sharing. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. And the curiosity aspect kind of speaks for itself already, but this finding oneself, um these new doors opening,
Mm-hmm.
Dion, is there anything that you want to share about, it doesn't have to be any one of these losses that you spoke about, maybe your husband or someone, you know, is are there any, let's say, revelations or something that you'd like to share? If you're not prepared to share these things right now, it's okay.
That's
But
fine. I can.
you know,
Um, the biggest revelation for me, I think, came after I was made redundant. My position was made redundant after 13 and a half years of being in an organization. Now, when you're in an organization for that long, the organization becomes your family, really.
mm-hmm,
You spend a lot of time there, and throughout those 13 and a half years, I grew tremendously. And when that came to an end, funny enough, persons were saying, what are you going to do next? How is it going to affect you, etc. Yes, I was sad initially. Um, I knew about it 2 weeks in advance because I was advised beforehand.
mm-hmm,
Um, at first, I was actually happy because I was like, finally, I get to probably try something else. And I think I was in a very comfortable, what they call comfort zone.
mm-hmm,
And I was afraid to branch out of that comfort zone. And because of that, I didn't want to try certain things. And when it happened, and when I got the news that this would happen in 2 weeks' time, I actually left the meeting and went out on the road and had a nice lunch and giggled all my way back to work. And I was like, okay, this is a time to start something new. Mind you,
oh my goodness.
after the first week, when it
Mm-hmm,
actually happened, no, the date actually happened. No,
mm-hmm.
that's a different matter. I remember driving home and I was like, shit. Well, I'm not sure if I can say that here, but yeah.
Oh,
I was,
it's okay.
I was like, God damn, I don't have a job. What do
Mm-hmm,
you do Monday morning? You don't have something to get up and go to.
mm-hmm,
How does that work? And in the same breath, I had a potential job. And I guess that's why I was sort of happy because I had a potential job at the time. And that same day that I was driving home, I got a phone call to say that they've had to rescind on that because of something that happened. So can you imagine you're leaving one thing that says that it's over, it's done here, and what
yeah.
you thought was going to become the next thing is no longer.
Oh
I
dear.
remember going home and I just came in, took a shower, and went straight to my bed and slept.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got up the next morning and I said, Lord, I have no idea what to do next because I thought I had a plan B and plan B just went straight through the door. So what am I gonna do? I actually went outside and gardened the whole day. And then
Yeah.
the next few months, I just decided that, this is vacation for me. So that happened this September, the end of September, and I used October, November, December to just have a vacation. I traveled,
Yeah.
I went different places, I tried new things, and then I said, okay, January morning, I need to get with it. It's reality time. That you don't have enough money to sit down and look cute for the next how many
Mm-hmm.
months. Um, and that is when I realized that I started writing. I actually sat down. I'm always dabbling. I always have a lot of books. I like pretty stationery, so I always have those stuff around me. And yes, I buy them and sometimes don't use them, but I've actually been using them regularly now. So
Pretty
I,
stationary. I like
yes,
that.
yes, I like pretty stationery, pretty mugs. Is a one. I don't have a mug on my desk right now with me, but I'm into mugs and stationery and stuff like that. And I started writing. And I remember a few years back, I had said I was going to do a website. I had started that website, did one article and called it not, and said, no, that's, yeah, nah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat down and said, what if you try? What if you try at this again? What if you started building it out from scratch and spend the time learning how to do it? Which is what I did. For the next few months, I signed up for um, a website and I started building my stuff from scratch. And um, the couple days after my birthday in March, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to launch this. Whether or not I have anything on it, it's going to be launched.
Mm-hmm.
And I did
Yeah.
that with one article, which is the same article I'd written 5 years before, 6 years before. And then I said, but no, you can't do this, Deon. You can't start from the same space and just have the one thing and don't do nothing again. And that became the, what do I call it now? My new toy, my new
Mm-hmm.
venture.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized for the time that I was home, it became my go-to to relieve my stress. Whenever I
Mm-hmm.
felt stressed, I wrote. And whenever I
Yes,
felt
yes.
stressed, I went on the website and I pulled down everything. Now I'm trying to figure out how to do HTML code, how to put a graphic on a page. And I'm trying to figure out how do people do this for a living? But I ended up doing it. And my website, as it
Yes.
is now, has been done by me and only me.
Mm-hmm.
It still has a lot of work to do. It's still in the growth phase, and I'm still loving it. So that is how my some of my losses, or how one major loss has propelled me into a different trajectory, on a different trajectory where I'm learning about myself. I'm learning that there's a creative side that of me that I need to explore. And I need
Yes.
and I have been exploring it and I've been enjoying that exploration really.
Yes. 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 Well, you know what? Every time these podcasts, I try to prepare and structure and give people an idea of what is coming. And I mean, there's so much wisdom coming out right now from what you're saying, and as I said, I want to give you a stage also to share value for my listeners. Now, there are so
Sure.
many things. For example, you spoke of writing. Writing helps you to structure your thoughts. So
Yes.
it will help you to figure things out. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm a language trainer, and I always say to people, listen, write things down, because if you type it, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like this. If you type something, there are something like 6,000 neuroreceptors that are sometimes elicited
Mm-hmm.
or used. But when you write it by hand, sometimes it's in the hundreds of thousands. If my memory serves me correctly, it's about 300,000. So
Right.
writing in itself, yes,
Right.
is a fantastic thing, not only for straightening your thoughts, not only for stress relief, and putting things on paper help you to see them, and also to be more rational about maybe some of the fears that you have that are kind of like stuck in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a nice way. It's just a kind of a therapy.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's
It
a kind of
is.
a therapy, and also diving in and trying something out and do it. Because as far as I know, you've also been published. Your articles have been published, no?
Yes, some
And
have.
also featured. Yes, 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 yes. I also do it myself a little bit, but it's not. It's a little bit different what I do. My site is more functional than anything else, and I do this podcast, which is live and real. And these days, again, after as a result of the same COVID situation, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have, I'm not going to say that they've outrightly rejected mainstream media, but they've actively sought out more of this authentic independent media like this.
Right.
So it's an opportunity for, little as a media producer, small media producers like me, like you,
Right.
to get out there, because people are looking for authenticity. Yeah, so it's actually a good time for that, you
Yeah.
know?
You mentioned the whole thing of authenticity, and it's very important. People tend to put on a face a lot of the times to suit a particular situation, not knowing that being their authentic self would probably reach further and
Mm-hmm.
mean more to the persons who are listening or watching,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that they're putting out there. Um, a lot of persons ask me how I'm so comfortable talking about the losses and stuff like that. And I said, it's because it helps. It helps me. And sometimes I don't know if somebody who is listening
Mm-hmm.
is actually going through something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it will let them know that, okay, there's a normal person out there who's going through the same thing, and this is this person talking about it. It's hard for different persons take it in different stages and they act differently, and that's fine. You have to know how you grieve. Um, but if there's a way that I can do it that can help others, I'm willing to do so. And I think one of the articles on my website speaks to how to deal with losses,
Yes,
and
yes.
I actually went deep into doing a little research on what psychologists also would say in terms of what are some of the things that you need to do, and that helped me. Writing that article helped
Mm-hmm.
me to deal with my losses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's good, and you're sharing it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Formats like this, it's authentic, it's real, it's coming from real people. I always say by people, for people, I mean, I don't do this for Google and Facebook and these people, I do it for people,
Hmm.
and one of the reasons why I do this as well is because people get to know, this is a little selfish now, people get to know who I am, and then they decide immediately whether they want to work with me or not.
Or not,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, they just decide immediately instead of wasting my time, spending 3 hours trying to find out the secret behind the things that I'm not saying. They just listen to the
There's
show. If
no
they like
secret.
me, they call me and say, "Can you start on Tuesday?" If they don't
Hmm.
like me, they just don't come and they don't waste my time.
That
So
is true.
it's a good thing. And you also spoke about, again, speaking of authenticity, I
Hmm.
usually prepare a script for my people so they
Hmm.
have an idea of the direction of the conversation, how I
Right.
hope it will evolve. Sometimes I don't stick to it totally. For example, here, I think I sent you something about some guy once said that, or it is said that this guy said that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. I'm sure he's not the only guy who said it. Yeah,
True.
there are many guys who said that and many women as well. Yes. So, what's the name of this guy? Charles R.
Swindle.
Swindle. Yeah, so
Right.
it's a preacher man, I think. I'm
Okay.
sure there's another guy called Stefan or Thomas or something who said it, or a lady called Kathy. But it's
A lot of persons
true.
have said it. A lot of persons have said it. So yeah,
Yes, yes, yes,
we
yes,
really
it's true.
don't know who is the real author behind it, but yeah, many persons have said it.
Of course. Okay, okay. I won't make fun of this guy anymore. All right, fine,
You
fine,
will
fine.
not.
No, no. All right. So, in terms of how you react to things, we've spoken about that already. The
Right.
value of just accepting it for what it is, and putting your thoughts together and trying to make the best out of it. There is another thing that I wrote here that I wanted to talk to you about, which is the topic. When you look at the topic for today, right? And again,
Mhm.
finding yourself through repeated losses and curiosity. Finding yourself is a positive thing. Yes,
Right.
repetition is a positive thing, especially if you're learning a language. But for
Mhm.
some people, it's just boring. Yes. Losses are usually seen as a negative thing, right?
Right.
Curiosity is sometimes seen as negative or positive. So this little topic in itself has a lot of pluses and minuses in it. You know? So and it's like a dance of contradiction, right? And
Right.
that's why I want to ask you, how did you find this topic? Yes, because it just confused me, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, where am I going? Yes, what does she want to say? And
Um,
yeah.
it's funny. Um, when we spoke a few weeks ago, and you said,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, do you want to come up with a topic yourself, or should I just give you something to work with, or whatever?" And I was at my desk doing something, and I said, "Yeah, not gonna stop bother me. So I'm just give him something. Finding yourself, moving right along." Eh.
That's
And
right.
yeah, and I just left it there. And then I came home, and about a day later, I went through my notes app because I have a notes app on my phone. Because when things come to me, I have a tendency, I'll be walking down the road, I see something, an idea comes to me that I want to write about right away, and I just open my notes app and start typing, whether I
Mm-hmm.
just write the headline or write a paragraph or two or something. So I went into my notes app because I said maybe I had written it down when I spoke to you. Lo and behold, the topic comes up, but with the added through losses, repeated losses and curiosity. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, but that's not what I told Aeon. And then I looked at the date, the stamp, the time stamp on it, and I saw that I had written this topic from October 2019. And I was like, what the heck was going through my head at the time when I wrote this topic? But
Mm-hmm.
then when you sent me some of the questions to look at, and I started thinking, I started reflecting, and I'm a planner by nature. And I know I bugged you and said, Ian, I need something. You can't just bring me on something and I don't know, and I don't know what I'm going to talk about. So yeah, apologies for that. But I'm a planner, so I
There's
know
no
you for stuff.
problem. There's no problem.
And when you sent me the stuff and I looked at it and I started reflecting based on the things that you had there, I remember at the time where I may have written that down because I was going through a, a, a divide in a long-term relationship, and I was trying to figure out, do I stay, do I go, what's next here. And I had just started a new job as well, and I was like, is this what I really want to do? How long am I going to stay there? What am I going to bring to the table for that new job? So it was a whole lot of stuff that was going on at the time when I so happened to come up on the conversation on the topic. And then
Yeah.
I said, maybe it's time for me to speak about it. Maybe now is the
Yeah.
time to speak about it. I wrote it down from that time, but that wasn't the right time. And you asking me to do this and my just willy-nilly just coming up with that part of the topic at the very beginning means that it was time.
Yeah.
It was time to speak about it. So yes, it has a lot of contradiction, but
Mm-hmm.
it also has a lot of value.
It's life.
It is life. And as
Yeah.
I said, for me, my losses have fueled my curiosities in so many different ways. And I've been living through those and I've been growing through them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which in this life, I realize if you're not growing in one way or the other, you're probably just gonna strip, just die, just dry up and
Wither
die,
away.
wither away.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like the plants we don't like. But no,
Why
I'm
does
also
that
into
sound like
plants.
you
I'm,
have
I'm
a
also into
plant
plants,
there
by the
that
way.
is
No, yeah, man,
dying?
I'm into plants. There was a time, when in my little apartment I had 32 potted plants. Nothing illegal, of course, but
Oh,
um,
you notice I don't
no,
blame.
no, 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 no. But yeah, yeah, I had 32, quite a lot. I had some orchids, and
Right.
it's funny, a lot of the plants here that grow in Europe, they're all tropical plants. All of them come from the tropic. Well, not all of
Oh,
them, but a lot of them. I
oh,
recognize
nice.
them. Some cocoa plants. I even have a croton. Croton,
Really?
the colorful one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's right there on my window. I
Oh,
can probably put it in
inside.
the post. It's inside, but it takes some care because I make sure it get light
It has,
and
yeah,
and
because
give
that
it
requires a lot of
water.
sun and stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. But it's right there, man. It's getting popular now.
Okay,
Crotons are coming over, and lot of palms and so
okay.
on.
But you know what I
Yeah.
realized when you talk about the croton being in the windowsill right there,
Mhm.
it speaks to adaptability
Mhm.
and how much. There's another article I wrote on the lessons I've learned from plants, and one of them is adaptability. You learn to
Mhm.
adapt, and when you're trying to find yourself, you're gonna
Mhm.
have to adapt to a lot of things.
Yeah.
because you're going to
Yeah.
have to come out of your comfort zone in many
Of
respects.
course. Of course. Of course. Of course. Well, Dion, I always try to focus. I mean, there's a natural pleasure that I experience, a delight, just from talking to you. I haven't spoken to you in such a long time. We're old friends from high school. We don't have to tell everybody how long ago that was. Yes.
No, we
But
don't want to age ourselves. No,
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 we
no,
don't have,
no.
we can, keep a little intrigue, keep them
Yes,
guessing.
yes,
Yes, yes,
yes,
yes. But we
yes.
went to the wonderful Knox College.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes,
Up on
yes.
the
Wonderful
hill
days.
in
Oh,
the
up on
cool,
the
cool,
hill.
cool, cool,
Yes, the
cool
only place I experienced snow, or was it hail, in
hill.
Jamaica. The only place.
It was
Yes.
hill.
Very cool. Yeah, it was a. But you know what? We're talking about the experiences, we're talking about what you get out of it and so on. And I try to give people value. Now, I can talk about the value of repetition, the value of reflection, the value of trying to get the best out of losses to my students. I do that all the time. I say, listen, man, you need to get away from this notion of perfection, somebody else's notion of perfection. Not being perfect, for example, in a language or something you're learning is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means you have to try again a different way and so on. But I mean, in terms of your people now, think of your people who would be listening to this show, right? And your context, yes? Maybe people you've worked with, people you've met, people you like, maybe people you don't like. What is the value? What is the value? How can, let's say within a Jamaican or Caribbean context, how can this way of thinking help people in a concrete way to make progress in their professional lives or even romantic lives? Valentine Day is coming up, so maybe wanna add some red.
Well, I have on red lipstick, so there. That's
Oh
Valentine's enough.
yes.
That's as much as I go
Okay.
for Valentine's. I don't do the red and white drama on Valentine's. I do, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
man, but still, yeah, how can people, some people can hold on to and take from this, our little talk today.
there's a thing called uncomfortable truths. And I think sometimes that's exactly what we all need in our lives, whether it be from a professional standpoint or a personal standpoint. And we need to have persons in our lives who can bring these things to the fore so that we can recognize them. And in recognizing them, we need to be true to self, accepting what was said to us and trying to find ways how we can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you've never suffered a job loss, you'd probably never go after something else that you've always wanted to go after but was too afraid to do it because you think that you don't know enough or you're not qualified enough or something along that realm. You probably want to go back to school. And if you never lost that job, you wouldn't have the urge
Well, the
to go
impetus, yeah.
or the impetus to go and do it. If, take for example, COVID, been in this dance together for what, 2 years plus? And there are so many persons that have lost so much on a personal and a professional from a personal and professional standpoint. And if you look at the statistics, it will show that from a professional standpoint, there are so many persons who have now ventured out and become entrepreneurs doing things that they truly enjoy and giving value to society and to themselves. And sometimes we need to look into these things and say, okay, nothing is perfect. Life is not perfect. It will never be, but you have to accept what is, learn from it. There's always a lesson in something, and that's something I keep preaching to myself. It doesn't matter how bad a situation is, there is a lesson in it. You need to
Mm,
spend the time to find what that lesson is
yeah.
and see whether or not that lesson is something you can use to help you grow out of the situation
Mm-hmm.
or to improve in some way or to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there, I mean, there's always going to be repetition of stuff. There's going to be repetition of loss. There's going to be uncomfortable truths. There's going to be so much things. And as you rightly said, a lot of things we tend to hang on to are unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's one thing COVID is teaching us, is that we need to get away from that unrealistic
Yeah.
life. And we need to
Yeah.
start looking at what is before us and start living our lives a little bit differently.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can think of a lot of examples. Thank you for that, Dion, because I mean, for example, now one concrete thing is that I learned to be an online trainer. I think I did that, got qualified to be an online trainer in 2014. And
Okay.
then for years and years, it was scorned. I mean, people like, yeah, it can't be that good, and really, they don't want to do it, and so on. And then all of a sudden, it started working. you know and not only that, so I'm happy that now we realize, I mean, it is, as I always, it is the sustainable choice for training people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serving now people all over Europe, and it's a great thing. I don't think it would have come to fruition without the status quo being forced into taking it seriously. Another thing is that, for example, the idea of remote work. There are so many. I mean, I'm a Jamaican, yeah. And speaking of losses, I also, some people, they think you live in a foreign country and they have all sorts of imagination. Yeah, I mean, I have some stories, but I'm not gonna touch on these today. But even the imagination of needing to go to someone else's country and live and so on, you know, a lot of things are not necessarily what we think they are, what we make them out to be. And now, because of COVID and
Mm-hmm.
because of things like Facebook that we love to hate, I love to hate Facebook, as well. But I use it. I'm thankful for it. I mean, WhatsApp is fantastic, for international calls. My first telephone bill was 462 euros because, I had to call home. But we now realize that we can work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What it means is, concrete example, you can recognize through social media what people are being paid, right? So you know exactly what your work is worth, and you can do the exact same work remotely from where you are, right? So that is what I would. That's what I would like to tell people, or help people to recognize. And this is something that has, the idea of remote work is
Mm-hmm.
something that has been forced upon us, in a good way, to think about it and think about the possibility of doing that. I know many programmers, for example, many countries, they need programmers and developers. They don't have enough, so they have to, hire remote people. And what that
Right.
means is that there are a lot of developers as well who I know are serving companies here in Europe, in Germany, from Jamaica.
Oh, nice.
And all sorts of things they're doing, whether it be, not just computer stuff, but organizing different things. Could be programming, could be media work, could be, all sorts of remote services. So that is definitely also something concrete, something that I would like to invite, then, let's say, the Jamaican listenership to consider. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to put yourself under the visa oppression. You don't have to. Yeah. And
Remote
that is
COVID
something.
has taught us that remote work is is the way to go in a lot of instances.
Yes. Yes. So that is one concrete thing, and there are a few others as well. All right. Well, we don't want to get too deep into that. Yes. I see you being quite thoughtful there. All right. Now we've spoken about the practical value that people can get from losses and so on.
Nice.
And I mean, I wanted to ask you about the events or the people in life that have led you to thinking this way. You've mentioned that already. And, I don't have to ask you that anymore. But the thing is this is another question that I have. This is one of the last ones, Dion. I don't want to keep you for too long. Really? Yeah, it's 48 minutes already. But this is very important.
Okay.
Where can our listeners find out more about you and your worldview and some of the things that you do? You mentioned a website.
Right. Oh, well, there's a website. That-
Yes, you mentioned the website.
I went to the website,
Yes.
www.iamdeoncecile, and that's deoncecile.com. Um,
Fantastic.
I'm on Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest at I am Deon Cecile as well. Everything is basically I am Deon Cecile. So from you type that into YouTube. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
do have a YouTube page. I do nothing with it really, but it's there. Um, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. I'm there using that. I'm also
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn. But for LinkedIn, it's my full name, which is Deon Dewar Gray, and that's DeonDewar hyphen Gray with an A. So your listeners, my listeners, anybody who is listening can find me on any one of those platforms.
Fantastic. Now, our topic today, is there any article that is published that you might want to encourage people to have a particular
Hmm.
look at? Yeah, because you've written a lot of things. I visited your website, and maybe there's
Ah,
one in particular that you wanna.
hmm. I probably need to pull up my website. But
Yeah, well, I don't know.
one of them would be, well, for the purposes of this topic,
Mm-hmm.
the one on dealing with losses is a good
Mm-hmm.
one to read. How to deal with losses. I think it's titled Dealing with Losses, actually.
Oh,
Um, then there is one about opportunity in chaos. Because again, when you're trying to find yourself and when you're going through losses, you don't, especially when you're going through losses, you don't seem to stop and think that there's an opportunity in that for you. Just like I said, there's a lesson in everything. There's sometimes an opportunity in that chaos that you're going through. So that is another article they can read. So that's dealing with losses, opportunity in chaos. I published a newsletter in January that sort of sums up all of the things that I wrote about last year in 2021, that they can visit and look at. That's something I really want to try and do every month, but I realize that that's an unrealistic goal right now. So, yeah, those two I think resonate more for this topic.
mm-hmm.
So they can look at those. Um, but there are quite a few, and there's something there for everybody. Um, There's one that says how to thrive in 2021, 10 ways to thrive in 2021. I still think it's applicable. It doesn't matter the year. I just written that at the beginning of last year. And coming up to Valentine's Day, seeing that you're talking about Valentine's Day before,
Of
there
course.
was one that says, how full is your love tank? And you may want to look at that one.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, that
How
speaks
full
to,
is your love tank? That sounds
yes,
good. I like that.
yes.
I
How full
like
is your
that.
love tank? Is it on
Yeah.
E? Is it halfway? Is it full? Where is your love tank? Heal right
I
now. So,
I like that. I
yeah.
like that.
So they may
Yes,
want
yes,
to
yes.
visit and read that one in particular, seeing that we're coming up to Valentine's Day and you
Yes,
want
I'm
to
not
make some
sure.
changes.
Sometimes I feel as if I'm running on fumes. But I don't know. Maybe I'm not, or maybe I am. I have no
You
idea.
never know. Well, go ahead and read the article. Maybe there's something there that you learn,
I'm gonna
that
read
you can
it. I'm gonna read
apply.
it. Yes, 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 for sure. All right. Well, whatever the case is, I'm gonna share all these articles. I appreciate the art of, well, literature writing, good writing, and also this giving nature of everything that you're doing. And I
Thank you.
sense also again a kind of authenticity. It's independent media. It's people for people, and I will always promote that because that's the same thing that I'm trying to do. So all these links are gonna be in the show notes,
Thank you.
right? Yes. And Dion, I want to say thank you again. Thank you again for taking the time. And yeah, I look forward. Who knows? This might be a beginning of even greater things.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. Make no promises today, but let's stay open and see what
Hey, well,
happens.
I didn't die today. I lived through this. So if I live through this, I think I'll be fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks again, Dion. It has been wonderful, delightful, and it's always a pleasure also connecting with Jamaica. I've had maybe there's a good friend of mine, Philip Clark. He's been on the show twice,
Mhm.
and I'll be reaching out some more. Just after this, there is another guy I studied with from Ghana. we studied together in Germany, and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be talking about voice, giving voice to minorities, and what that
Nice. I
means.
love that topic.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. So it's very nice. He speaks of what is it called? He calls it micro storia. So it's like small stories of the
Okay.
small people, you know. So for
Nice.
example, the cleaning woman in the office probably knows more about what happens in the office at night,
Always.
yes, than the managers. So you shouldn't just go to the managers and ask them what is going on in the business, but also ask the cleaning persons. They might have some insight, and that's what it is, giving voice
Mm-hmm.
to, or let's say they have their voice already. Be careful about the idea of giving people voice or giving empowerment, yes, but giving them the stage, affording them the stage also
Mm-hmm.
to express what they have to say, and that's what it's gonna be about.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that topic. Should be
Yeah.
quite interesting.
Yeah, it's coming right after your episode.
Ah, okay. Well, I'll be sure to listen out.
Well, you better make sure and share it with all your friends.
Yes, I will. I will. I will.
Okay, Dion. Thanks